Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be about gel brushes for nails and the different, I'm going to go over different types of brushes first, what they're used for, and then I'm going to talk about care and cleaning, and then at the end how to groom and trim your brushes to get them exactly where you want them to be. So first let's talk about the different types of brushes. These are just a few of the kinds of brushes you might see on the market, and every brand has their own, and you can buy them from anywhere from Amazon to Sally Beauty to specialty brand websites, you know, professional only websites. I'm an ACE educator for accents, so that tends to be what I like to use the most, but I know every high-end brand of polish has its own line of brushes, which is awesome. So first of all, gel brushes refers to any gels that come in a pot like this that you would open and you would dip in to apply the brush that way. So all potted gels need a brush, and those are called gel brushes. I prefer the oval kind. They also come in square. Some people love those. That's awesome. Totally personal preference. This is obviously a more expensive, higher end one where you can get really inexpensive ones on Amazon. You know, you get what you pay for, but whatever, totally personal preference. I actually use these for like cleaning up around my nail instead of actually apply the polish. So it's kind of handy to have a little bit of both sometimes. The next type of brush I want to talk about is art brushes. Art brushes can be anything. That's a very vast, my very favorite is this Art 2 brush by Accents. It's the length I like the best. You can see it's very fine. I've actually groomed it, which I'll talk about in a minute. But they come in longer, shorter, thicker, stiffer, however you like it. These are a little bit more on the high end spectrum, where this is, again, very inexpensive from Amazon. You can get them in a 3-pack. Doesn't hold up as well, but for what you need it to do, it's, you know, depending on what the job is, it's fine. I actually keep these on hand also. And then you have more specialized art brushes like this one for ombres, or for glitter, and then there's some for like chromes, and gosh, there's the fan brushes, and really the sky's the limit on those. Those are kind of the basic different kinds of brushes. What I use mostly personally, I have this one that I use only for clear gels. Then I have another one by Accents that I use only for color gels. So that's something like a potted color gel, whether it's a hard gel or soft gel. I use, if it's colored, I use this one. I keep those separate so that I don't kind of pollute my gels. And then lastly, if I'm going to be doing anything in glitter, I never want to use these because the glitter will totally destroy the brush eventually. And I have a blinged out brush that I use just for glitter, which I love. For art, mostly I use the Accents Art 2 and 1. This one's a little bit shorter. I don't know if I showed you. And then just whatever random stuff I find for whatever the art needs, and that can vary. As far as care and cleaning goes, if it has a lid, that means it's protected from UV rays. My desk here is next to a window, so if I leave a brush like this out with gel on it, it's going to eventually do that. It's going to cure in the brush and in the bristles and ruin it. So these I clean with alcohol. If it gets left out, the alcohol does degrade the bristles and eventually make them fray. So it's not great for a brush, but if it's getting left out, alcohol's better than having it cure in the gel. If it has a lid, I clean it with my clear gel. This one only ever goes in clear gel, so I just wipe it with a dry wipe and reshape it and leave it perfect, and it stays very nice. Thin and pointy. By the way, this is a natural hair brush, and it's called a Kolinsky brush. You've probably heard that word before. I didn't know what it meant. Kolinsky is actually like a Siberian weasel. And these are his little hairs. So that's a little dark, but he is beautiful. So he's made a beautiful brush. So when you see the word Kolinsky, it's the type of animal that the brush was made from. There's also synthetic brushes. Some people prefer synthetic, some people prefer the natural hair. This is an example of a synthetic. This one has a little bit of glitter in it, so it's not looking its best. Some people prefer the synthetic because it doesn't absorb as much product. Personal preference. Try them both, see what you like. I don't really have any advice there. As long as it works for you, then it's awesome. So moving on to other care of brushes. If I'm using my color brush, I clean this one in clear gel. So after I'm done using it in a color like this, it would be full of color, right? So I would then just take a dry lint-free wipe any excess color off. Okay, no alcohol on that. Then either if it looks pretty clean, I'll just put the lid back on. It's not going to do any harm. If it's a really dark color or if it's still in there, I'll take a little tiny bit of any clear gel that you have and just kind of work it into the brush. And as you do that, it will actually push out any of the color gel that is residually staying in there. This one's pretty clean, so it's not showing any of that. But that means that we can just wipe off any excess gel. And the gel will actually help to condition the brush. It will not cure, it will not get stiff or crusty or anything like that as long as you keep the lid on it. You could do this same technique with your brushes that don't have lids, as long as you have a dark place to keep them, that they're not going to get exposed to any sunlight and cure, because once they get crusty, it's pretty much all over from there. And I do the same thing with my art brushes. I'll usually just use the dry wipe and wipe it. If it's a dark color, I might like just kind of work in a little bit of clear gel to get the rest of that color out, and then just gently wipe it, make sure it comes to a nice point, and put my lid back on. So that's how I clean my brushes. Lids, use gel to clean them. It will help them last longer. It will keep the bristles nice. If there's no lid, you got to use alcohol and get them clean, or store them in a dark place if you're going to use gel. The last thing I wanted to talk about in this video is grooming of the brushes. So as the brushes age, I'll use this kind of inexpensive brush as a good example. It will kind of fray a little bit. See how that's got like a thing, and as you're painting, you're like, oh, I can't get my lines straight. This brush is garbage, chuck it. Well, don't chuck it quite yet. Use your nippers. I just got these out of my barbicide, so they're like dripping wet. That's awesome. Use your nippers. I get not the pair that I use on people's skin, but just kind of an old pair. You see that one bristle. So what I do is just take the nippers, and I come down and I nip it really quickly. And then I kind of rotate, and you want to, when you do this, kind of try to keep it even. Nip around, like do a half turn, quarter turn, nip, 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 so that your brush stays mostly in the middle. So this one's kind of close, but you can see it's totally a little bit off-centered. And I do this with my really expensive brushes as well as my inexpensive brushes. It keeps that point nice. If there's any gel on your brush, you shouldn't be doing that, touching this with your hands, but I know this has been cleansed in alcohol a bunch, so I'm not too worried. Otherwise, I would be not touching it with my hands. That's a whole other, take care of yourselves, you guys. Wear gloves. Or just be careful. Anyway, then with my brush that I talked about that I use for cleanup, or my gel brushes, my glitter brush obviously all the time needs help. To groom this, like if I'm doing this and there's like a one that's sticking out and it's going to drag along my polish, that's going to be bad. So I take my nippers and I kind of just grab a few over here and I nip, and I try to keep this straight, so I really just nip the front and then I flip it and I nip off the back hairs, all those bristles that are sticking out. And so I keep it even. You don't want to like nip around and around because then you'd have like a weird like pokey thing sticking out. Anyway, so that's how I groom my brushes, and I do that with all of my high end, low end. I groom them, and I groom until there's no bristles left, and then it's time to retire the brush. But look, this started out as a much thicker brush, but now it's a really fine brush that I bet I can get some more use out of. So grooming is a great way to take care of your brushes. The brushes I typically use, I use for every single service, but sometimes it'll take a specific tool for a specific job, and it's always nice to know how to care for them, how to preserve them, and how to get them from a fluffy brush that you won't use or something that's fraying into a usable piece of equipment for you. So anyway, if you have any other questions about your brushes, please leave a comment below. I hope this was helpful. I know I get a lot of questions about brushes and how to use them, which ones I use, how to clean them, all that stuff. So anyway, if that was helpful to you, go ahead and hit like. And if you have any further questions, I'm happy to answer those and help with that. Have a good day. So thanks so much for watching. Bye. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and feel free to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks so much. Have a great day.